You come in the entrance to the Gulf Quest Maritime Museum, which is devoted to basically everything business, shipping, transit that goes on in maritime, the Gulf, and particularly Mobile. You notice that up here, you essentially have the world around Mobile being represented. Then you have the various flags of all the countries that do business with Mobile. And this is kind of a neat thing. They're wanting to give you a sense of being on a ship, right? That's kind of the idea here. The architecture outside reinforces that. So as you look out here, it kind of feels like you're on a boat, even though obviously we're on land. This is a walk-around model of the entire Gulf. So you can basically see the Gulf from all the way around it, as if you could travel these thousands of miles all at a time. And one of the interesting things to me is, I guess, never really thought of it much as like an inlet, but it really is kind of a giant inlet. So as you come in, the second museum exhibit that you see here is all kinds of sort of just historical and maritime business kind of artifacts. There's North Florida, and you can see Pensacola, the Blue Angels being represented right here, and the Floribama. And what's interesting is all of the sand that forms the backdrop here from Alabama, from Mississippi, from Louisiana, all the way around the Gulf Coast to the other side here where you have Texas and Cuba, Mexico, and then you have South Florida. All of the sand, you'll notice it's different colors. It's because it actually comes from those places. So all the sand was imported to make the backdrop of these exhibits from the different places around the Gulf. Continue walking into the main portion of the museum exhibits, you see something pretty enormous. If you look up, what you have here is essentially a model replica of a container ship, and you can see, in fact, if you look down, you can actually see a simulation of it being in port, which is pretty cool. And Mobile, the reason in Mobile is because the guy who innovated the container ship, a guy named Malcolm McLean, was a truck driver, and he was sitting waiting for his trucks to be unloaded, element by element at the port, and he said, well, why don't we just load the whole truck on there? So the first container ship was actually built here in Mobile. So with all of the history, one of the smaller elements here in the Maritime Museum at Gulf Quest is that they have a pretty extensive, given that it's a maritime museum, collection of fossils. Look at this bad boy. The Elasmosaurus platyurus.
Saying I would not assume. Not without verifying.
If you can saw that, you'd say, waves.
Oh, look at this turtle.
Huh. And I'm assuming these are all replicas or manufactured somehow, but this is wild. Up to the 5th floor, then you have basically the bridge simulated of the building. And here, because there happens to be a cruise ship in port, you can look straight at it.
It looks like a boat.
And if you go outside, wow, what a fantastic view of what's going on in Mobile. There's Austell, where they're building a couple of the, well, one LCS. And if you look over here, we've got the Carnival Fantasy, happens to be in port today. I think normally you'd be able to see the other LCS being worked on the other side, over here. There you have people boarding, getting ready to go on their cruise. And he was just telling me that this is where they're going to build the I-10 overpass bridge. Enormously large bridge, enormously expensive too.
Full speed is.
This is a
is all
simulation
the way
of driving a
forward,
container
and
ship
going
into the port
forward,
of Mobile.
So if he was to head south right now, he'd go into the bay. But like I said, we're going to head north
Not a-
of the river.
not a container
He is
ship,
the
just a-
Coast Guard,
just a
so he's
small
gonna be
boat.
patrolling the river, making sure everybody's doing the right thing in our port. Off to our right is the I-10 bridge that goes across the bay to Pensacola. And once you find a speed that you like, you can lay off your throttle. You don't have to hold it the whole time. So he is at 46 knots right now. The speed is right up there. It's 16.7 meters of water, so it's nice and deep because we are in the shipping channel.
So where do I need to go?
So you're going to just keep heading north. I'm going to give you a little tour of the port, and then eventually the river will bend, and you'll just follow the river bend. You can move your wheel a little just to get a feel of it. It's totally up to you what you want to do. On our left, we're passing the McDuffie Coal Terminal. That's the second largest coal terminal in the U.S., and it's got metallurgical coal is what we export, and we usually export that for steel production.
What's your depth? How deep are you now?
16.5 meters. It's about 45 feet deep in our port. Yeah. Some days on any given day, you might see them dredging out there. They're always having to dredge it to keep it deep. And this is called Little Sand Island here. You can see it on your nautical chart. That's where they do some different fire drills with the ex-USS Shadwell. They'll practice putting out fires on that ship to do some training.
Is that part of the old Ghost fleet?
It was a World War I, World War II ship, but I don't know if it's part of that original Ghost ship. You mean the Liberator ships?
The ships are up the river.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's part of that original set.
There were stockpiles of World War II ships.
Yeah, those aren't even there anymore.
No, I think they scrapped them all.
Yeah. And then that's APM Container Terminal. And this is called BAE Systems. It's a shipyard. So you're doing perfect. You're turning right when you need to turn. I'll show you what you look like so you can have a good view of your ship. Let's see here. So there you are. You got your Garmin radar at the top, which controls this screen here. His boat is about 31 feet long. It's got twin engines, center console. It's called the dry dock right there. So we're coming up right now on Gulf Quest. And right before Gulf Quest is the cruise terminal, which of course has the cruise ship today. Are you all locals? Are you visiting?
I'm local. I grew up here.
They're from Alex.
Oh, okay. Not too far. And this is our city plaza here. This is called the Renaissance Hotel. That's right across the street from us. And this is the RSA Tower. That's the tallest building in the whole state. You're right here in the bridge wing. We're passing the USS Cole. So this is about where you go over the tunnels that go across the bay. That's all still, they build the big LCS ships that you might have seen outside if you went out on them. And they have a contract with our Navy, so they pump those ships out quite frequently. So let's see, you still have about a minute and a half, so if you want to start kind of testing your boat out and turn it, do a nice big 360 just to see what it does. You can just turn your wheel really fast, or you can keep going like you are. It's up to you. There you go.
Whoa. You doing good, Nathan?
Nope, keep going.
Keep turning. Danger, danger.
And we crash. That's what it's like to crash. It's not very exciting. Great job, Captain.
So you remember earlier when we were showing you the container ship from down below. Here's that same container ship from up above. And if you look down, you see the water down there. What's interesting is that water is 3/4 of the way all the way around. So if you come over here, I mean, this is really pretty cool. I've never seen anything like this. It's like having a port inside a building all the way down. Just, oh, you can't quite see it because of the angle, but that water continues all the way back there to the midpoint of the ship. Here you can simulate driving an ROV.
Good. Now, turn your lights back on.
Fish.
And go down to the floor.
That's what I'm doing.
Or maybe not an ROV, maybe an Explorer that you're in, I guess. And over here you have a pulley demonstrator so that you can see the difference between, you know, 1, which is very hard, and then going around with 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this one is very easy for the same weight. And you've got a sailing demonstration where you can control the rudder of a boat that's got wind blowing to see how you do with it. The wind demonstrator, which my boys absolutely loved. And this is really cool. I can't show you because it's locked in. It's about 10 minutes long, but you're inside a little home and it walks you through the process of being in the Emergency Operations Center coordinating hurricane response and tracking. And our own John Dosh is actually on one of the videos briefly, but you get to see how the storm develops, how to evacuate or decide on evacuations, just with very good, you know, effects and lighting and everything else. Very interesting simulation. A tugboat demonstrator, and that's the yellow boat. This is the yellow boat, so let's see what happens. Hard to drive with one hand. You can see I'm pushing. Let's turn that rudder a little bit. Oh man. Pulling them right into the port. Oh no! Oh no! Part of the tug demonstrator. So if you pull back on it, reverse, it'll pull it towards you. Pull, reverse. Oh, you got to start it again. There you go. All right, pull it back. You're the blue one.
gonna ram you, Sage.
You press the button, and they can look at all of the different routes over the years, like Ponce de Leon, or the 1700s, 1800s, Hernando de Soto. All right, pick one and press it, Sage. And then it lights up on this map, okay? So that's from France to Biloxi, and that was Pierre de Lemoyne d'Iberville. And then in the 1700s, I think you press it again, kiddo. From Spain
This was the trade route.
into Havana, and from there to Veracruz.
And now press the 1800s. Press it again. Again.
One more time.
4 times?
Oh. The slaves from Africa.
Yeah, that's the slave trade, right? And then back to England,
That's long.
and back to Africa.
All right, 19.
$1900s, starting in New Orleans. This is Christopher Columbus. And our favorite. Oops. Tristan da Luna. Went to Mexico and served with Francisco Vasquez de Coronado. No wealth was found. All right, let's press the button and see. Well, that is not the one that we want to see. And now here you have a display of the Bay of Mobile with a chart for all of the ocean bottom, or the bay bottom. And if you press a button, it'll tell you about the wreck. And then you can see where it is, and if you want to see all of them all together, these are all the wrecks in the Bay of Mobile.
The ceiling. There's 4 projectors all the way around the room, and with this iPad I can manipulate it. Had a long day yesterday, and I can do things like this. I like to give kids geography quizzes, see if they can still. But really, I like looking at this one because it's showing the world's currents. Currents are hugely important to shipping, to animal life, all sorts of things. There we go. There we go. Have the Gulf Stream right in front of you. That Gulf Stream is the bright green strip that pulls warm water up the Gulf of Mexico and up the east coast of the United States, giving us much more pleasant beaches than California has over here. And then bringing warm water in conflict with the cold air off the coast of Ireland, Iceland, Norway, giving them some pretty crazy weather. So other currents, of course. Right there we have the East Australian Current, made most famous by Finding Nemo. It's what the turtles use to travel. And I can pull up, that's just kind of a simulation of an average.
Can you simulate hurricane season?
I absolutely can.
In the
hurricane season 2005 specifically.
Oh.
That's the most famous one. It's our worst hurricane season on record. There were 28 named storms that year, more than any other year. Before that, 2004.
Yeah.
Record.
I was gonna say, can you do 2004?
Yeah.
From Pensacola.
We're from Pensacola, so
Yep.
though I don't want
was
to,
living in Pensacola at the time.
I don't want to see it, but that's the one that's interesting.
Alright, this one's a little bit different. It just has the levels of precipitation. There we go. There's a date stamp there. 2004 was unique because up until that time, it was the worst hurricane season on record. And we had 4 major hurricanes hit South and Central Florida that year, which is unheard of. They just kept getting annihilated.
How many was it this year?
Not sure.
We had
Great question.
Harvey, Maria, Irene, and Nate were the, or Irma and Nate were the big ones for.
But did they all hit Florida? I can't remember. And Harvey, did it hit Florida?
No,
Harvey was
hit
Texas
Florida. I don't know
and
if
Louisiana.
Nate did, 'cause my parents
And Nate was what, Mississippi mostly?
Yeah, I mean, we got
And
a
here?
Saturday off work here. It was rainy and I had a lot of leaves in my yard.
Danielle. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Danielle did not make landfall. And then Francis, Gaston.
So this is time lapse, and we're now into August, late August.
September 16th was Ivan.
There's Ivan.
It crosses Florida, we all expected it to die out once it made landfall, and it just got bigger.
Ugh.
Oh, there's Ivan. That was Francis, I guess.
Oh, okay, that was Francis. There's Ivan. I was like, they didn't look right to me, but
Yeah, I agree. But also, yeah, it hit land, but it didn't seem to kill it.
what a really interesting demonstration. You said it's a carbon fiber ball?
Yep. Yeah, kids always want to touch it when they come in. Make sure that it's just smooth and cold. It's nothing exciting. It's not internally projected. I come from an education background. I'm a teacher, not a scientist. I always just kind of thought that the ocean was the ocean. It all got churned up and it was all basically the same. No, there's huge variations in the amount and the salinity
Right.
of salt in the world's oceans. The burgundy gray represents 38 grams of salt per 1,000 grams of water. The dark blue is 20 grams of salt per 1,000 grams of water.
How does salinity correlate with the currents? Or is there a correlation?
There is definitely a correlation. Yeah, it does have a lot to do with that. And then also, I had a really long day yesterday. My brain is fried. Depths, too.
Okay.
Some of the deeper parts of the ocean, that salt is going to sink.
Because it's dense, more dense? So this obviously can't show.
We are super salty. We are extremely salty. And you can also see the mouths of the world's rivers. It gets a little blue or green. The mouth of the Amazon, the Ganges, the Mississippi.
Huh.
It's a little hard to see the mouth of the Mississippi just because it's Louisiana so oddly shaped.
Yeah, so the Gulf is a very high density, well, relatively high density. And then there's that stretch from Cuba to Africa that's very, very, very salty.
And then we have a much less salty area there where the glaciers and polar ice caps are melting, diluting some of the salt water.
These are wind patterns. God, what a device.
Where you see those circles, those are low pressure systems, where it just looks like the wind is going in a circle.
Can you show the fire one again?
Yeah.
So what I thought was fascinating about this is fires. So everywhere you see lights, those are fires. But what's fascinating is if you look here in North America, up through the Midwest, but then Mexico, look at Mexico.
Hey, Spencer.
And this simulator can even represent other planets, like this is obviously Mars.
Your favorite, Jupiter. This is Mars. I can definitely do Jupiter. I can do moons of Jupiter if you want. Let's see. Space. Planets. Yes. There's your big red spot. No, that's not it.
That's not it, yeah. And she can rotate this thing around any way she wants. See?
You want one of those in your room?
Yeah.
You can see all these same data sets at home. Obviously not on a 360-degree sphere, but if you go to NOAA.org and then search for their Science on a Sphere, that's their patent name, the Science on a Sphere by the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration.
You can you put the moon up there?
Yes, I can.
Now it'll be more
Under
interesting.
my tab that says moons, it's, Saturn's moon.
Oh, right.
And just moon. Not Earth's moon or anything, just regular moon.
Jupiter has like 21 moons, something like that.
I don't remember, they keep adding more to the different places.
Last time I remember it was
Was it 20?
21.
And who had 60? Was that Saturn?
25.
And there's 60s.
There's one moon, it's one of Saturn's moons that's completely covered in ice, and I think it's really pretty. It's nothing but ice.
So you got a blanket and it's cool.
Someone says I think it looks like an old lady's skin.
Somebody young.
That's interesting.
The human or electric lights all over the world. I like looking at this one because do you see? So this is Japan,
There's India.
and then off the coast of Japan we have what looks like an
Is
island.
that Taiwan?
That's South Korea.
Oh, wow. Pull that down a little bit
Yeah.
more. Can you pull that down towards us a little bit? Oh, wow. Okay, so this is South Korea compared with where's North Korea on the light map? It doesn't exist.
That's the palace.
Wow.
That little dot.
Wow.
Yeah, India, it has a very evenly spaced
Yeah.
electric lights. They don't have the clusters with the cities and, blank spots for the country, and that's because of the railroad system. The railroad system is laid out on a grid, much like our interstates. So that gives some pretty consistent electric lights all over.
Florida's got a lot on the edges.
Wow,
There's the Nile River.
yeah. It's fascinating to see not just where light is, but where it isn't.
Oh, wait till the Amazon comes around. This one is dark.
South America compared to North America. I think North America wins in lights.
Yeah, you can see that our interstate system is very much on a grid pattern.
Now, this is light as recorded from space on satellite imagery?
Well, it's a
That's
photograph.
the world from the top.
Somebody's saying how many photograph.
All right, so this is definitely one of the cooler things here. I mean, there's a lot of really cool things here, but this is where you get dressed up. And if you want to do magnets, these are all magnets basically. You can make them mural as you like it. But then when you get over here, more dress-up stuff. And the reason that you dress up is so that you can go be on a boat and then do a green screen of being on the boat. Alright, so here I am. Most of the stuff doesn't really fit my size, but I'm sort of a pilot. And if you're in here, it puts you on a green screen. And then there's all kinds of interesting things that they have happen, like the dragon. No, don't eat me, dragon! No! Yes, eat somebody else! Very cool for the kids. Help! Help! Yes, please. No, don't go away! No! Next time. That's from the outside, and as you notice, it's kind of designed like a ship. I mean, you've got a bridge up on top, and you've got, I think it looks a little bit like an aircraft carrier, the way they've got those little side deck areas, but I don't know. That's it.